All right, we're live now, so that's good. All right.
All right.
I was kind of nervous that wasn't going to work there for a moment. So thanks everybody. Tonight we have Tim Zunker, the interim president of Shakopee Chamber of Commerce, and Ashley Grotwald, who is in charge of the Main Streets program here in Shakopee. Is it Main Streets director? Is that the right?
Yes.
The big title. Okay. And so we're just excited to have folks here to chat about what's going on. There's just so many things going on in Shakopee, and a few years ago, Rhythm on the Rails got set up, and it's been just a huge success. And that after a hiatus last year, we'll be back this summer. So it's a really great thing. So Ashley is going to talk a little bit about that. But Tim, first, why don't you just introduce the Chamber, who you are, what the Chamber does, and just give kind of a broad overview of what the Chamber and CVB does here in Shakopee.
Yeah, well, thank you, Brad. Thank you for having both of us on tonight. It's greatly appreciated. It's an opportunity to come and talk about our organization and what we do from an organization. The brief kind of overview of what I'll start with the Chamber of Commerce, because there are three sides to our organization. We'll start with the Chamber first. So it's pretty simple. And what it is to improve the economic environment for our members in the community. The way we do that, we kind of utilize 5 pillars to help fulfill this mission. The first pillar is advocacy, which we serve as the voice of the business in the community. We do this through our public policy committee. We have some different things that we work on to help voice to our members, to the legislature or to the city council or whoever we're working with on public policy. The second is business support, and it's really simple. We just want to serve the needs of businesses and help support. There's some initiatives we do through that. We have an ambassador committee. We have an executive roundtable, which is facilitated by Scott Morrell. And then we also have a young professionals program, which we run in typical years. 2020, of course, that did not happen. We haven't ramped that back up yet, but that should be starting soon. Another one of our pillars is our growth strategy, and we just want to help the community. We want to do this through economic development and tourism. Another part of it is events, which Ashley will talk about with a couple of our signature events that are happening in the downtown area. But we do some other signature events for the businesses in the community. We have some educational opportunities with some of our events. We have a Leader Cast shift event that's happening August 11th. We have a breakfast series that we're doing with Eric Thurwanger, and then just some other things as they come up as we schedule those things. And then also outside of that, we want to be a connector with our events. So we have a numerous networking opportunities, like that, so we can get these smaller businesses together where they can talk about what their products and services are, what they're doing, and just get an opportunity to grow business organically. Another part of our organization is our leadership, or another one of our pillars is our leadership development. We want to make sure that our staff and our thing like that, we want to give them the resources they need for leadership development, but we also want to give leadership development opportunities and to the community. We have a community-based leadership program called Leadership Shakopee that's actually starting this week. So that focuses on numerous initiatives or numerous things that we're doing in the community, from law and justice to the economy, local workforce and government, tourism, different things like that. So it's just a great kind of insights into what the Shakopee community does. And Brad, I believe you've been a part of it a few times on the local government and workforce side. So that's a great thing. And that kind of branched into another thing that we're doing called our Leadership 2.0, which is kind of an odd name because it actually isn't tied into Leadership Shakopee at all. It's more geared towards executive leadership, but we just see a value in offering these opportunities and education for our members. Leadership and education is, we're the convening organization, Shakopee Academies program with the public schools. And, we're working on some exciting initiatives, and we also have a foundation as part of our organization. So we're looking at ways right now with the schools on how we can utilize that foundation for leadership development for students and different things like that. So that's exciting things that's going to come as we continue to progress and discuss those ideas.
Right.
The second part of our, thank you. Yeah, the second part of our organization is our CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau, Destination Marketing Organization, whatever you want to call it. That part of our organization focuses solely on increasing economic impact for the area through, we have an agreement with the city where we receive the lodging tax of the local statute, and that's how that's funded. So we want to make sure that we take those dollars and utilize them effectively for the purpose of travel and economic impact, positive economic impact to Shakopee and the surrounding area. You know, I mentioned it earlier, not a lot of people probably know about what the CVB is or what the CVB does, because so much of our marketing focused regionally. We're marketing to, you know, outside the metro area. We're marketing it into Iowa, into Wisconsin, and even into Chicago DMA and St. Louis DMA.
I always like the heads in beds.
Things like that. Yes, yes, and you know, we don't want to call ourselves a heads organization necessarily, but that's always going to be the primary focus. If I'm doing marketing isn't going to drive those travelers to stay in the beds, I'm not getting that revenue. So it's a essential part, but you know, we always want to look and expand beyond that and just take those opportunities where we can, our organization, on that, just that positive economic impact. And I'll talk a little bit about what we do, what that economic impact from traveler spending brings. You know, just from Scott County alone, the numbers in 2019 before 2020 happened, travel at 441 million in gross sales to Scott County, which another about almost 24 million in state sales tax, and the employment levels in Scott County, a little under 6,600 employees. So you know, of course, everyone knows Shakopee Fair and Canterbury Park and Renaissance Festival, but we've got a lot of great other attractions and different things in the area that people can utilize and take advantage of. If you just look where we're located at in Memorial Park, and you just take a look to our north, we have the Minnesota Valley Recreation Area, which is just a spectacular kind of corridor for people to utilize for biking, hiking, just nature walks, different things like that. And its connection to Bloomington, its connection to Chaska, if you want to go south, and its connection there. So there's a lot of our big attractions we have a lot of hidden gems right up the road from us. And just
very important question for you, Tim. Is the bridge open yet?
Yes, right? Somebody told me yes, but I haven't walked over there. It just opened. Yeah. You know what? You got me there. I need to take a look. But
you can look out the window and see it.
I can't see it from the.
Oh, you're on the wrong side.
I have to walk. Yeah. I'm on the wrong side. So I'll be back. I'll go do that tomorrow. But if that's open, it saves us from our organization side in the office, that saves us a lot of questions about why is the bridge closed? What happened to the bridge? And it's that great connector. You know, people don't have to go to Heber Park to connect to that trail now. They can and just connect to it from here or wherever. Right. And like I said, you know, with the trailer going to Bloomington and further, and if you see the trails coming off the Minnesota River going over Cedar Avenue or Cedar Road or whatever over by Apple Valley, you can see that connection on that side. It's just a spectacular nature area that we have connected to that outside of the attraction. So we've got a lot there. You know, and I mentioned briefly how we talk about our big attractions, we talk about our small attractions, but what traveler spending brings to our main streets and to our small businesses. If you take a look at the numbers that were provided to us by the state of Minnesota in 2017, 25% of traveler spending was on food at restaurants, at different things like that. 16% of traveler spending was on retail. So yeah, you know, people are going to attractions, people are staying in the lodging. Lodging is another, I believe, 20% of the traveler spending there. But it's bringing those people in is such an important part of the economic vitality of a community, and just being able to do that from our CVB perspective, or help do that from our CVB perspective, is just I think it's just a nation. One interesting and fun statistic talks about what happens if that travel revenue doesn't come to the area, and traveler spending, the tax hit on households in Minnesota would be $625, an additional $625. So it's important to have a very strong tourism economy. It's very important to continue to have that strong tourism economy. And I think it's just sure that we continue to build out that tourism, new restaurants, great shopping, and of course our attractions. And I'll always advocate for hotels. Anytime someone wants to build a hotel in Shakopee, I'm completely on board with that. I love that idea.
Exactly.
So it's just great.
Yeah.
And then, one thing that what's that?
I was just gonna make sure that everybody, I didn't do my little spiel to start with, so I'm sorry about that, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that you can use the comment section on the Facebook page, and I'm watching that. And so if you have any questions or want to bring those through, you can add those in the comment section, and I'll ask Tim and Ashley. And so we're gonna be talking about Rhythm on the Rails here. We're gonna talk about the farmers market. If you have any questions about those events and anything the chamber does, just make sure to put those in the comments, and I'll make sure to pass those along there. And so, Tim, you were on your way to a perfect segue of Main Streets and food and talking. I saw Ashley perk up, and she's like, "It's my turn," and then you just kept talking. So I'm going to switch it over to Ashley so you can talk about what there's a lot of really awesome things happening this summer. And do you want to start with talking about Rhythm on the Rails first? You want to talk about the farmers market that I've heard nothing but great things about so far?
Let's go ahead and talk about farmers market just because that's what's happening right now. So because a lot of people get confused when we do events in downtown, where exactly it's through and who's putting on these events. So just to let everyone know, the Main Street organization is one of those several branches that happens within the Shakopee Chamber of Commerce. We are an accredited Main Street program through the state of Minnesota, through Main Street Minnesota, which is a part of a national branch called Main Street America. We are one of only a few. Think of how many main streets and how many cities there are in Minnesota. There might be a couple more on the way, but there's less than 20 accredited Main Street programs in the entire state of Minnesota, and we are one of them. And we do things every single year to maintain that accreditation, and one of them is our community events. So when people are asking, who are you with? It's the Shakopee Chamber and Visitors Bureau, but it's through the RETHO/Main Street America program that partners with the chamber. And Farmers Market has been around for a while. I believe it was established in 2018 here in Shakopee. And it had a couple of different homes. And then with last year, we weren't able to do anything because of COVID. And we decided to resurrect that farmers market this year and kind of give it a reface. It's always been in a certain location at a certain time, a certain date. And we just thought, hey, if there was any year to change things up, it's this year, because we didn't have anything last year. So we changed the location. It is located in the parking lot behind River City Center in downtown Shakopee. If you're not sure what River City Center is, it is that big brick building that has the notorious clock tower in it on First Avenue. We do our tree.
Wait. Why is it a notorious clock tower?
Because it's the central location of our Main Street.
All right, got it.
So if you're ever looking for a really pretty branding or promotional picture of Main Street, we typically try to squeeze that clock tower in there. So the city put a lot of money into that building, so we're trying to put some promotion in it. And we always do our tree lighting right underneath it. So a lot of people know where the annual tree lighting is for the holiday festivals and things like that. So it's located behind that building. It faces Highway 101 and the bridge. So the reason we moved it over there is I wanted to account for a lot of space, just because when I was planning farmers market, COVID regulations and requirements were still in place. So I wanted to have extensive amount of space, but it also has great visual from the bridge and from 101. So people who aren't even from Shakopee are driving by on their commute or on a visit, and they're seeing that. And there's a statistic that over 50% of people who go to farmers markets didn't intend to go to a farmers market. They drove and saw one and then pulled in. So it's creating traffic to our downtown community of people who live here, but also people who don't live here and maybe wouldn't have necessarily stopped if they wouldn't have seen that farmers market happening back there. So it's happening back there. It's on Fridays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. We did that because we wanted to still create economic growth for our downtown businesses. We had it on a Sunday in the past, and a lot of small local businesses, they work 24/7. They need a day off every now and then. And they were all taking Sundays off, rightfully so. So having a farmer's market on a Sunday didn't really bring any economic growth and development to our businesses, because when people went to the farmer's market, there was nothing open to go shop or go eat or do anything like that. So it really didn't make sense for our businesses to do that on that day, because the whole point of having events in downtown is to also bring those opportunities to our small local businesses. So that's why we moved it on a Friday. 2 to 6 is a great time, so you can come down early, grab a snack, do some shopping, do your shopping from 2 to 6 at the farmer's market, and then perfect time to go grab a bite to eat, grab a drink, go do a little bit more shopping before everything closes down. So it was a great time change, great location change. We're very excited. We also added a ton of vendors this year. This is the biggest farmer's market we've ever had. We've got over 30 vendors. I would say at least 60% of those vendors are full-time, which means they're committed to about 85 to 90% of the entire farmer's market, which we also extended to the end of October now. It used to end, I believe, the end of August, beginning of September, but now it's going to the end of October, because who doesn't love fall produce? You know,
Right.
corn,
That's awesome.
pumpkins, everything like that. So extended it to the end of October. And what's great about the additional vendors is we created kind of a makers and farmers market. So it's not just produce, it's specialized food. So honey, elderberry syrups, you know, you've got meat rubs and spices and sauces. We've got some food trucks. And then we also have a lot of really talented local and regional artisans. So people who specialize in decor, people who specialize in jewelry, people who specialize in skincare and body care. There's someone who creates customized birdhouses for your backyard. We have so many great businesses. We have some great Black owned and BIPOC owned businesses. We also have a lot of really great regional and local vendors as well here in Shakopee and around the region. So we just have a huge variety. We are just getting started. We're only 2 weeks in, but the feedback that we've gotten as far as variety and how many vendors that we're having has been very positive. And we haven't even had all of our vendors yet, just because produce typically doesn't get going until about July. And so once our produce really hits in July, it's gonna explode. We had people coming last week around the 5 o'clock time, and a lot of the prize stuff that they wanted from either like our meat vendors or our cheese vendors had already written sold out on them. So if you want to get what you want, yes, it's great for my vendors, so I want it to be good for them too.
Yeah.
So if you want to get what you want, definitely come earlier rather than later, because it might be gone, but at least it's every Friday. So.
And we've had some feedback that you got from Amanda that says, I went to the farmer's market on Friday and it was fantastic. 10 out of 10 recommend everyone try and scope it out sometime. So that is.
Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we drove.
Bigger and better. So
I had a meeting and we were driving back. And so I drove past it on Friday and I haven't had a chance to stop yet, but it looked awesome coming from the Eden Prairie side. So it was, you guys thought that out really well and got it figured out. So that is great. And so it's going, just to recap, every Friday between now and the end of October, from what are the times again, 2 to 6?
6 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Awesome. Perfect. So yeah, I hope everybody gets a chance to go down and just check that out, because it's having a farmer's market in downtown is a huge benefit to everybody, and the vendors, and bringing traffic and getting people to just see our awesome downtown and just the really great things that are going on down there. So that's great. So also opportunity to see our awesome downtown is starting in the middle of July. We've got Rhythm on the Rails is starting back up again. And so after a COVID hiatus, it is coming back on. I was so excited to see the lineup that you've got and what's going on. And can people expect who've gone down religiously the last few summers since it started off with a huge bang? Are there any changes that people can expect to see? Is it going to be basically the same thing coming up this summer, or is there anything new that people need to know about?
We have been pretty fortunate that during the planning, we never stopped. We never, said, let's hold off. Basically what we did is we said, let's have a scenario A, scenario B, scenario C, all the way to scenario Z, let's be honest. So we had a lot of backup plans in place just to see where we were going to be at once it came that time. Luckily, with the state that our state is in, with vaccines raising and going on the rise, and with restrictions lifting and regulations lifting, we have been able to full go, just like we've been able to host Rhythm in the past. So there really won't be too many changes this year that are really going to affect the functionality like a lot of people were worried about because of COVID. It's going to run as smoothly as it has before. It's going to operate the same. You know, of course, we'll have a couple of extra sanitation options. We'll have a couple of, you know, opportunities to make sure that we're keeping extra clean and extra tidy. You know, we definitely are still going to say, you know, we don't have mask requirements. So there is no mask requirement, but I mean, you're more than welcome to still wear your mask. There's nothing, you know, that says you can or cannot wear your mask outside. And yeah, we're just going to make sure that we're spaced out a little bit more, even though we're doing good as a state. We just want to have, I think everybody just wants that extra space now, honestly. We've gotten used to it for a while, and all of a sudden we're getting packed again. And it's like, okay, let's space out a little bit. So we're going to have some extra space. Create a food vendor alley, so to say. So instead of the food vendors being kind of scattered throughout the parking lot, we're going to have an entire kind of like alley, the way they would set up kind of at the Minnesota State Fair, where you've got all your food vendors lined up, and you can kind of go to that area and scope out all of your food, all of your drinks, all that kind of stuff. But other than that, we are full go. We're very excited. We've had all of our partners and all of our sponsors and all of our vendors have been so gracious and patient during this whole thing, because there was a big kind of ask for them to be a part of something that we didn't exactly know what it was going to look like when we were asking for those commitments. So we're super appreciative to them. We're going to have some great, you said we've got a great lineup going on. We're having a double headline act that very first week. So we're going out with a bang with 2 headliners that first week. We're also partnering with Twin Cities Summer Jam those first 2 weeks, because Twin Cities Summer Jam is that second Thursday, Friday, Saturday of Rhythm. So Twin Cities Summer Jam is actually calling Rhythm the pre-party to Twin Cities Summer Jam. So it's been a really cool partnership as well with them. They're going to be bringing some of their crew to Rhythm. They're going to be bringing some of their influencers and some of their people to Rhythm over those couple of weeks, giving away tickets and things like that for Twin Cities Summer Jam. So we got good things coming for Rhythm.
Yeah, so let's walk through the lineup, if that's okay with you. So we start the middle of July, so it's July 14th, and
yes.
That's we're still on Wednesdays, right?
Yes, we're still happening on Wednesdays. So it's on Wednesdays, and it's still from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. We all know people come a little early because people want to just go ahead and get that parking spot and get out there. We're totally welcome to have people come a little bit early, around 5:30. We're going to make sure that we're all set up and good to go, so we don't have a huge influx of people at the ticket tent right at 6 o'clock. So our very first week, let me pull up my lineup. I
got them for you. Don't worry, I got them for you. So the first.
Okay, perfect. I was going to say, I just don't want to. I
didn't want to throw you off. No, you're good. So the first week is Trailer Trash and Belfast Cowboys. What are they?
Tim is probably going to be better at explaining the bands than me, because this is actually my first real Rhythm, and I actually really I've only had the opportunity to listen to one of these bands live, because I started in January 2020, right before the world went, you know, haywire. So Tim would probably better describe the sounds of the bands than I would.
You got that, Tim? You know, and we don't have to answer this if you don't want to. It's okay. Not if you don't want to. That was a terrible way to say that. I'm sorry, but yeah, they're like old country bands, right?
Yeah.
And then the second week is a world according to Garth. I don't know. Ashley, you want to take that one?
We're very excited about that one.
Ashley's got that one.
So we're actually, I want to preface too, we're very fortunate that of all of these headliners, basically all of them minus one were our headliners for 2019. And they've been so gracious to basically pick up their contract and move it to, I'm sorry, for 2020, not 2019, and move it to 2021.
Cool.
So they have been wonderful with being, you know, patient and going, okay, yes, we know this isn't happening this year, because the music industry was hit so hard. So they were so great by saying, we understand that this isn't happening this year. let us know about next year. And they basically just picked up their contracts and moved them to 2020. So we're super appreciative of them. But this is new in our lineup. We have not, looking back, we want to mix it up and have some more variety. And we haven't had a true, I hate calling it honky tonk, but some honky tonk country, some real country. And this guy, our booking manager, said that he is so great. He's such a great entertainer, very well known around the region for being just a phenomenal Garth Brooks tribute band. So very excited to throw that kind of little curveball into the lineup. I think it's going to be really fun. And it's a good lead up to Twin Cities Summer Jam too, because they kind of have this country along with a lot of other bands as well. So it's a good lead up to Twin Cities Summer Jam as well.
Perfect. And then the third week is GB Layton, who I'm sure that many folks know. But my biggest question with GB Layton is who's going to be running security that night to keep Angie Whitcomb off the stage? Where have you guys thought through that one yet?
We have cattle guy, and I'll touch on this, Ashley. We're going to be live streaming Rhythm for us. So we're going to be live streaming it on Facebook and YouTube throughout all 5 weeks. So we have to have the cattle guards up to get those cameras up. So we can block Angie, right? She can still get over them and get on stage if she really wants to. But I
was going to say, I don't feel like that's going to be
enough.
No.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's really interesting. Good. So then the fourth week is the Fabulous Armadillos, that I don't know anything about them at all.
I mean, we've listened to them. They're really good at kind of doing an all-encompassing. I really can't label them one specific genre, if that makes sense. They're just really good at creating an overall sound for the situation. So they kind of read the crowd and they kind of know what the rhythm crowd is like because they've been a part of a lot of our stuff before. So right. They're really great.
Awesome. And then week 5 is I Am, He Said. And I'd like to, as we get into talk about week 5, like what if it rains? Like the first year we had this, it was just brutal on our weather on things because it's outdoors. And do things just move back to the end, or is it all case by case, or how does that work for people to know?
Yeah, we'll do it case by case. A couple years ago in 19, and you probably remember this, Brad, we had week 1 coming up, and we were told by everyone, the agent, the band, the setup, everything, that it's going to storm, be terrible. We need to cancel. So Angie had to make that call at 10 in the morning, and at 4 in the afternoon, it was sunny and 82 degrees out with no wind. So that's the tough part. But, we would probably follow the same type of thing that we did in 2019, where we changed the rest of the weeks. We didn't push them back, but we just saw if that band could perform. And I forget who it was that week. And maybe it was the Honey Dogs. If they perform the week after Rhythm. Or the last week of Rhythm. So we would look at scenarios like that, or how we can make it work. I run into a little bit of a problem because I may not have Ashley at that point. I don't want to share too, but I mean, she may be gone.
Yep.
But we'll figure it out.
Perfect. Good. Well, that's really awesome. There's a lot of really great things happening. And Ashley, I have a question for you about from somebody about Farmers Market. So is there somewhere we can find a list of vendors for the Farmers Market?
Yes. So the Chamber has got a Facebook page. So the Shakopee Chamber and Visitors Bureau has a Facebook page. Downtown Shakopee also has a Facebook page. And then, so you can go to either of those 2 sites, and I'm constantly posting about all of our stuff that we've got going on. So if you don't see it on Chamber, go to Downtown's, and I'll have a list or a site map, and it's constantly changing. I had 3 people call me today saying, I've heard really great things about the farmers market. Can we get added on? So it's going to be constantly changing just because there's going to be people coming in as things get rolling, which is phenomenal. So just keep watch for that, for any updates or for any added vendors. But those are the best places to find those really quick informational things. Speaking of Facebook pages, if there's any ever information needed for Rhythm too, also on both those pages, but then Rhythm on the Rails also has its own website and its own Facebook page. So you can go to that, either Rhythm on the Rails website or the Rhythm on the Rails Facebook page to find any information as well.
And the Rhythm on the Rails website is just rhythmontherails.com, right? Am I remember that correctly? And then I'll find the farmers market one and put it in the comments for this live feed, and we'll roll with it from there. So, all right, awesome. So perfect. Well, that is a ton of great information for folks. If anybody has any questions, toss them in right now, and we'll get to them real quick. But do you guys have anything else you want to cover? That the light is now coming into my office, and I'm glowing. That I've got a little. What is it? The photographers call it the magic hour or whatever it is, where
golden hour, is that what
golden hour? Yes, exactly. That's what I got going on in my office right now. It's a beautiful thing. So is there anything that I haven't asked you guys about that you would like to make sure folks in Shakopee know and understand? Those kinds of things. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about yet, like that is not going to take an hour to talk about, but just.
Yeah, I'll start quickly just from a chamber side, and I'm just, I'm selling the chamber, of course, but you don't need to be a member to take advantage of any of the opportunities that we do as an organizational side. If there's a networking event or a certain speaker that you want to start up, Leader Cast Shift, that's happening August 11th at the Shakopee High School or something like that, just go to our website, shakopee.org, take a look at those events. There's non-member registration and opportunities there. So like I said, it's, we don't want to just focus it solely on our membership. We want people in the community or businesses that are members to take advantage of those opportunities there. And, a lot of that too with focuses with Ashley on the farmers market and the market that we did last year, where a lot of non-members were able to take advantage of what she did with that. So that's an opportunity there. From the CVB side, we have the Visit Shakopee website. We try to post as many events and community events and different things that are happening there as possible. So, I talk about how we market out of the area, but it's still a great community resource for people to take a look and see what's happening that given weekend with different events, concerts, different things like that. We're populating. I'm excited. Mystic has a great lineup set for this summer, and they're adding bands and performances constantly. Canterbury has, their events happening right now outside of Twin City. They're doing a lot of their race promotions that they've done in past years, and the dog races and different things like that. So it's just exciting to see things coming back and things happening and getting back to those things. And works in the tourism, has worked in the tourism industry for a long time. So yeah, just if you ever want to just see what's happening and look at this, we try to get as many of those events in there as possible on visitshakopee.org.
Perfect. And I have another question that came in, and this may be more of I might have to have the city on sometime to talk about things, but question from Charlene is, did you already discuss incentives to start a business in Shakopee? And is there anywhere that you guys think that people who want to get involved or entrepreneurs and want to start a business in Shakopee, and Ashley, maybe for you starting in downtown Shakopee, what's the best method for people to really learn how to do that here in our community?
We have got such a great community of businesses in our downtown that have obviously been through starting a business, whether it was 3 generations ago or it's actually, and I've heard this, but COVID was the year to actually start a new business. So we've actually had quite a few new businesses come up in downtown even over this last year. So if you've got any questions about how to get started, there's 2 main entities that you should be referencing to. You should be referencing the city and getting a hold of the economic development personnel at the city, because they're going to help you with getting connected with building owners and getting connected with rentals and getting connected with spaces that are available, helping you with licensures and all of that good stuff. Once you've got everything settled with the city, come to us, because we are going to be that connector to the business community. We're going to be able to say, hey, this is a great business to go for if you need signage. This is a great business if you need some insurance advice or some legal advice for your business. This is a great business that's going to help you with this. So, and that's in downtown, but that's also throughout the community as well. It's a little bit more a little bit more, I don't want to say more work, but there's a lot more information that people don't know when doing a small business versus doing like a franchise or things like that, because they've already got kind of that laid out for you. So definitely connect with the city. Economic development is probably going to be your best bet. But then once you've got all of that figured out, if they're not already sending us to you because we have a really good working relationship with the city, then come to us and we'll be able to help you kind of move on to those next steps. And there is growth happening around our communities, both throughout the community and then in downtown. It's been great. It's really great to see a small downtown like ours really start to thrive again after this last year. So
this is a Brad question. Nobody's asked this one yet, but when are we going to have a tour of the new apartment building?
They're hopefully going to be
the
doing
deco?
an open
That should
house
be soon.
What, Ashley?
They're hopefully going to be doing an open house soon. The
Good.
last statistic that I got from the deco is that as of July 1st, I believe they're going to be 30% rented out. So it's a great start for them. Yes, it's a great start for them.
That's
I know that they really are interested in starting to get to doing those open houses soon. We may or may not be helping them take advantage of the traffic for Rhythm on the Rails to do something like that. So
that doesn't sound terrible at all. All right, so we've got a couple more comments here. One is from Nick, who's handling all the live streaming evidently for Rhythm. So Nick is excited about that, so that is good. And then last one, then we'll let everybody go, is Charlene asked that, she said, summer has a lot of great events. Is there anything for the colder winter months? We may need to do another one in 6-8 months, but is there anything on the horizon for getting people active in doing things in downtown Shakopee and whatever during winter?
Yes, I am already working on our Holiday Fest, our big winter one that we do every single year. So my two big ones are definitely Rhythm and then Holiday Festival. A lot of really big, exciting changes to Holiday Fest this year. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be more of an actual festival, and getting a lot of that stuff in the works right now. What Tim said earlier about maybe not having me towards the end of the summer is I will be leaving on maternity leave come September, the first week of September. So I'm getting a lot of the ducks in a row right now. So there's less on my team while I'm gone, but we're already getting the ball rolling with that. I'm already working with the city and already working with businesses and vendors. So we're going to have a really great, because last year we canceled Holiday Fest. We didn't have our parade. We didn't have our fireworks. We didn't have our traditional tree lighting. So you'll be seeing all of that and more for Holiday Fest in December. And then we'll see what we can trickle in and out throughout the year. But that's definitely a big one to look out for once we get kind of past fall.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, there's a lot to look forward to. Thank you so much, Tim and Ashley, for joining us. Just to talk about all the great things that are going on. And thank you all for your work that you're doing. Especially the downtown stuff is near and dear to my heart. It is really cool, all the things that are happening and just the huge changes that have happened over the course of the last decade in that area. I'm just really appreciative of everybody's work in getting there. So I thank you so much for being here, and we'll have this will be live on our Facebook page. We release it as a podcast sometime later in the week as well. So anybody who missed part of it will be able to watch it. It'll be posted, and we'll take it from there. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Brad. It was great being on here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.